Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Corporal Jeanette McNeely. We warmly welcome the family of Flying Officer Colin Robert Moore Richardson, whose story will be told shortly. We also warmly welcome Stuart Hebberthwaite, representing the Air Force Association, and Commander Tony Vine, Royal Australian Navy retired, author of the book High in the Sunlight Silence, which shares the experiences of Australian airmen who trained at Narromine in the Second World War, including Flying Officer Colin Robert Moore Richardson. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We also acknowledge the members of the RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching this ceremony broadcast across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Colin Robert Moore Richardson. Colin Richardson was born on the 15th of January 1922 in Mendooran, a small town by the Castlereagh River in the Warrumbungle Shire of central western New South Wales. Colin's father Robert had served with the 2nd Australian Field Artillery Brigade during the First World War, and after returning home received land at nearby Tottenham as part of a soldier settlement scheme. After establishing the homestead Nillac, Robert died when Colin was just 8 years old, leaving Colin's mother Viola to raise him and his two sisters, Nancy and Ivy. Colin Richardson grew up to work as a grazier, but in September 1940, at the age of 18, enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force Reserve. The following year he was called up, and on the 20th of July 1941, he enlisted in the RAAF. After initial training at Bradfield Park in December, he attended elementary flying training school at Narromine and then prepared for overseas service. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,500 RAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, gunners and engineers who, throughout the course of the war, joined Royal Air Force squadrons or Australian squadrons based in Britain. Leaving Sydney on the 24th of April 1942, Richardson arrived in Canada almost a month later. He attended service flying training school in Dauphin, a city of Manitoba. In October, Richardson left Canada, arriving in England in November 1942. After a period with an advanced flying unit in Shawbury, in March 1943, he attended flying instructor school and in May joined an advanced flying unit. In September 1944, he joined No. 27 Operational Training Unit in Litchfield, and in March 1945, he was posted to 630 Squadron, located at RAF, East Kirby. No. 630 Squadron carried out strategic bombing roles in Lancaster bombers. Around 3 weeks after joining his new unit, on the afternoon of the 9th of April 1945, Flying Officer Colin Richardson was the pilot of a Lancaster, which left East Kirkby to attack oil facilities at Lutzenkopf in Germany. After a quiet flight with very little enemy opposition, the aircraft encountered heavy flak over the target. Richardson's Lancaster dropped its payload and turned for home. Soon afterwards, the wireless operator, Flying Officer William Forrester, received a signal to say that fog had closed down their home base and they had to divert to another airfield. Not long after 3 a.m, the aircraft flew low over a road north of Market Harbour in England and then hit the top of a hill above council chambers near Shapcroft. The aircraft crashed and burst into flames, hurling wreckage and burning fuel across the footpath leading into the park at the centre of the village. All members of the crew were killed in the accident. Flight Sergeant Herbert Burton, Flying Officer Robert Martin, Sergeant Bernard Gibbons, Flying Officer William Forrester, Flight Sergeant Anthony Bowman, Flight Sergeant Frederick Howlett, and Flying Officer Colin Richardson, who was just 23 years old. Colin Richardson was buried at Botley Cemetery in Oxford, under the inscription chosen by his grieving family. His duty nobly done, dearly loved by mother and sisters. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flying Officer Colin Robert Moore Richardson, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
we'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrubber Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director and staff of the memorial, thank you for visiting us today and for your continued support of the memorial's development project. We particularly appreciate your visit, despite the challenges posed by COVID, and wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.